I'm recording this time. I remembered, all for you. Hope everyone's doing well. As always, if you have any questions, comments, ticker requests, please be sure to post them and we'll definitely take a look. What's up, CEO Papabelli? Papabelli. Like, I gotta go full Italian there. Well, I speak the most Italian. You can stay a few minutes. Well, let's get to it then. It's 9 o'clock. Let's lock and load. All right, as always, we're going to try to keep this nice and simple. Start from the top and work our way down to the bottom. And we'll kind of expand from there, show you what I'm looking at, tell you what my signals are showing, and we will go from there. We'll just expand on out. But first of all, you know, the SPY has gone up. Or the markets in general has gone. What happened to the Italian? It went country. It went country real quick. The market has gone up, 9 days straight. No pullback. We've kind of whacked ourselves into an interesting resistance level, especially on the NASDAQ as it kind of hits itself on the daily 200 simple moving average. But what we're going to look at here is, you know, we're going to take a quick look at the broad markets, and then we'll jump into the individual names and kind of get a feel about what we're up against this week as far as the charts, and then of course the economic data. Of course, all eyes is going to be on Powell on Wednesday, where we have FOMC. We are not expecting any kind of rate cut whatsoever this go around. They're doing what they can with their dual mandate, keeping jobs steady and trying to keep inflation low, although it's still a little bit off of their 2% target. But needless to say, the economy is doing okay despite all the tariffs. As far as we can tell, we did get that hit on the GDP data last week, but they're saying that's like a mathematical anomaly and all that kind of good stuff. So you can read into that if you want to. But as it sits, we're not expecting any kind of rate cut. It's going to come down to what Powell has to say in general, like last time. So we'll just have to keep our ears peeled for what he has to say. Again, that's on Wednesday. And then on Friday, I just want to point out that we do have everybody and their mother Fed speaker talking on Friday, so hooray for that. Sprinkle in some bond auctions this week as well. But all right, that's the economic calendar. We got a little bit of data on Monday with the ISM services, but the key focus is definitely going to be Chairman Powell on Wednesday and all the Fed speakers on Friday. All right, so let me get my epic pen here. It's super duper epic. Yeah, I wouldn't see. I don't see. You don't see him saying anything positive. We'll see. Yeah, who knows? As it sits right here, here's what I'm looking at on the SPY. We are still in a max bull situation on the 30-minute, bull plus on the hourly, and bull reading on the 4-hour, neutral on the daily. So what that's telling us is that the smaller time frames still ultimately remain pretty bullish. The momentum has been pretty strong these past few days and even week. We had that one little blip below the 30-minute 50, but we held the hourly 50, and that's where we bounced and raised higher. The key thing that I am watching is this daily squeeze here on not just the SPY, but we also have squeezes. We have squeezes on the daily, on the daily on the SPY, the daily on the Dow, and the daily on the IWM. The QQQ we'll take a look at in just a little bit. But yeah, here's my spreadsheet. If anybody wants to screenshot that, I'll give you a little few seconds here to take a grab at that. And this is something you can do similarly. Just kind of give yourself a nice little coding system that works for you. And of course, once my stuff is available to you, you can also use that to kind of help guide you as well. But here we go. yeah, as it sits, small-term momentum continues to be the case. Now, even though we are coming into resistance, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a short immediately. We don't know if it's going to be a short immediately, even though we are kind of coming up into this resistance zone, especially on the QQQ and the SPY, because the smaller time frames have yet to switch here, especially on the 30-minute and the hourly. Until we get that switch on the 30-minute and the hourly, the least amount of resistance is to the upside until we kind of bonk our head and change course here. We might snag ourselves into a 30-minute squeeze, but that has yet to come to fruition. I'm still definitely keeping an eye on this daily squeeze. If we can get this daily squeeze to fire to the upside, we very well could see ourselves having a nice little big squeeze back above the 200, get a retest, and move higher. So, yeah, that's the theory. We could also just kind of come up, have a false breakout, and come crashing back down. But like I said, it's anybody's ball game at this point until the narrative changes. Who knows? We might see that during the FOMC and so forth. Just going to go ahead and point out, here's the daily squeeze on the Dow. It looks like it is firing to the upside, or trying to. At least you still have bull readings on the smaller time frame, so that is a positive. If we go to the small caps, we can also see, although, still kind of the worst of them all, just really below the daily 200, still got a small low level compression squeeze that is trying to work its way up. As you can see here, with all these smaller time frames, the bullish momentum is looking pretty positive as well. China folded to 25% on some tariffs. Is that new, or is that new? Something. Anyway, let's see here. So small caps look pretty good. If we come over to our sectors, these are all 30-minute charts here in alphabetical order. We can see that the XLB 30-minute, max bull. Communication sector, max bull. Energy sector is the only one, well, that's not quite max bull, but with crude oil getting smacked down, the XLE is just not something I'm going to be participating in. Financials looking pretty good as well. We had the Berkshire Warren Buffett event this weekend. Warren Buffett announcing that Abel was going to take over by the end of the year. I think that was what he was said there. So we'll see if that has any kind of effect there. But financials looking good. We took Schwab last week, took partial, still kind of riding it out. Industrials look pretty good. Tech, semiconductors look good. Utilities, not usually my favorite kind of sector to play in. Max bull. But as you can see, what I'm trying to point is that breadth has definitely expanded outward. It's not just tech anymore. It's not just Netflix or Palantir, which is also part of the XLK. We're starting to see some of that expansion come about. And, as we noted on the Friday notes, we have seen a lot of the names within the NYSE get above their daily 50 simple moving average. And we see that, that breadth just continuing to expand. So, when I'm looking at these sectors, we can clearly see consumer staples are pretty interesting. There's a few out there that are clear-cut leaders, such as Costco and Kroger, and we'll take a look at those. There's definitely a few interesting names out there in tech land and semiconductors. Let's see, communications also doing pretty decent. So we'll take a look at that as well. But yeah, defensive, it's good to have on, especially when the yields are in limbo, and that could cool down, if the TLT keeps on falling. The XLV is pretty much your main sore eye here with neutral bear, neutral neutral. So not really looking at the XLV. Industrials, materials, consumer discretionary on the XLY is definitely something that I'm going to be focusing in on. And then, of course, when it comes to Dow theory, we want to continue to see the IYT expand outward as well. So we still see we got some bullish readings here. Just need to see transports improve just a little bit more to confirm that the Dow is definitely in improvement. There is a little bit of a sore eye. It's one of the few caution lights out there, and that's the junk bonds. Junk bonds, if they're buying the junk, they're buying pretty much everything out there. So if HYG can recover off this neutral spot, we can see that we're neutral across the board. You can see that we did have this nice little move upward, and then Friday this kind of went counter against the market where they're kind of selling the junk, and it just didn't quite recover as much. So what we want to see here on the HYG is to see that get back into a more bullish positioning, but that could just be you don't have to worry about this substantially, but just have it check on it once a day or something like that. The VIX, of course, continues to melt down. They're selling volatility. We hit the highs of about 60, and we've kind of come flushing on down. We are in a daily squeeze as well here on the VIX. The only thing that would get me a little bit of a red flag is if this hourly chart on the VIX turns back upward, but we don't see that yet. We might see it on FOMC day or the day after, but as it sits right now, this hourly squeeze is still firing to the downside, so I don't see any reason to be concerned about the VIX at this moment. But as long as the 1 hour remains in that bearish positioning, it pretty much keeps the risk door open. But of course, if that changes, then of course that could be our red flag along with the HYG. All right, let's that's pretty much the spiel. We can also just look at some of these main sectors here. The XLK. Oh, I didn't look at the Qs, did I? I did not look at the Qs. Here's what I was saying about the Qs. The Qs have come right up to this level here, the daily 200 simple moving average. But yeah, smaller time frames, they're still max bull. They're in a good position here to try to break out of this daily 200 and move on ahead. And in fact, we've had a tremendous recovery. We've recovered well over 50% in the past 9 days or however long, since being down 20% off the highs here. And it seems like we're getting that V-shaped recovery. And you get those questions like, are we really in a recession? Like, is the market going to actually recover just as easily? But we'll see. So we got a few interesting names out there. Of course, we can look at, Netflix, which is, the darling child of the market. It just keeps going up. And then, if you want to play this on the shorter time periods, yeah, you can play the dip to the hourly. If you want to be aggressive, you can buy the dip to the 30-minute and just keep riding the wave until the wave doesn't break out anymore. But, is there anything out there that, isn't as super duper extended like we are on Netflix? You can see that we have a very wide open area between price and the 21 EMA. I'm not saying that this comes all the way back down tomorrow, but at some point it is going to want to kind of come back in and start to develop a base. And then if we do see that, maybe we can pull back in to the 1,065 mark. So that's something that we could be looking at if we get a deeper pullback on Netflix. Palantir has earnings tomorrow, so probably not going to be doing anything on that one. Philip Morris is one of those consumer names. Smoke them if you got them. Continues to set up. As you can see, we're pretty much max bull across the board. having squeezes pretty much everywhere between the 30-minute, the hourly. So if this 30-minute squeeze fires to the long side, that could trigger the hourly, and then off we kind of go from there. So Philip Morris is going to be on watch. It is kind of a slow, lower moving beta name. So I do prefer like in the money contracts on this, or just plain old shares and just kind of ride the wave. We also have LYV. This is part of the communications sector. Not as bullish as some of those other names, but we do have a pretty clean setup. Live Nation here just needs to clear above 135. We clear above 135. This could trigger the squeezes to the upside. As you can see, the 30-minute squeeze is at max bull, or excuse me, the 30-minute setup is on a max bull, and if that squeeze triggers to the upside, which it has, that could trigger the hourly, and that hourly could ultimately trigger the daily, and that could send us up. And we've seen a few of these setups like this where they, quietly break out. I think EA did it last week, but the only reason why I didn't grab EA was because it had earnings, but it is on my short list this week, as long as it holds above this 147 mark. Again, it's kind of a slower name, so we will want to grab time on it. But other than that, it looks pretty good. Spotify, again, this looks pretty darn good. It's a little bit more bullish than, Live, or Live Nation. I think of Live Golf when I say Live. But max bull on the 4-hour, hourly, and a 30-minute just kind of goes and tell you, like, hey, this thing's got some wings on it. If we can get this 4-hour to push, that's going to trigger the daily, and then off we go. So Spotify is definitely on the short list to take some long positions in if the market does want to continue. Bert B, part of the XLF and all that kind of good stuff. Definitely want to make sure where this opens up, especially after everything that happened this weekend with Berkshire and their conference and how the market's going to respond to Warren Buffett finally retiring. He is 94 years old. I mean, it was bound to happen, although we'd like to think that he's going to live to like 120 and we get to enjoy him for that much longer, but it is what it is. So Bert B right at 542. Max bull scores all across the board. We'll see how it opens up tomorrow morning. Another name on the lookout is Fast and All. It has a 2-for-1 split coming up on the 22nd, but you got this nice little bull flag pattern that's just itching to push out if we get a break above 82.50. I'm looking for this thing to push towards 85 and possibly higher. We do have a 4-hour squeeze, so if that can push out, that would be a bonus there. But you got all the right ingredients here: bull plus, max bull, max bull, max bull. And again, Fast is in a nice sector that is looking pretty good as well. Tesla, believe it or not, interestingly, it doesn't have the best readings out there. Neutral on the daily, neutral on the 4-hour, bull plus, neutral plus on the 30-minute. But what it does have is a nice little hourly squeeze that could flip over here to the daily squeeze, and we could get out of this little mini bull flag and push us higher. So I'm looking for a breakout above about 292 to push us to 300, maybe even to about that was a terrible line, maybe even to the 310 mark. So I think Tesla has a pretty interesting opportunity. We just have to clear above this 292 mark, get above the daily 200 simple moving average. If this neutral plus switches to like a bull plus, then I think we are in business here, and then that could trigger this to a max bull scenario, and we're in business. So I'm liking the looks of Tesla to the upside if we can break 292. Moving on up, Costco is also on the radar. I believe Zach's been dabbling in this one, if I'm not mistaken. Nice breakout above 1,000, has room to gap fill towards 1,026. bull readings across the board. It has 30-minute squeeze, 4-hour squeeze, daily squeeze that is starting to expand outward. Costco is part of that consumer sector, so this one could be pretty interesting if it starts to get going. Like I said, the XLP, if we revisit that, bull plus, max bull, bull plus, one of the cleaner readings out there. Although, you know, if you just look at the price, it does look a little bit sloppy, but that doesn't mean there's not, you know, leadership out there. I mean, you got names like Kroger, which continues to be quite impressive. It's a slow beta name, but hey, great for shares if you're looking for something to add on to it. If you want to play the daily trend, just wait for the dip to the 21 or the daily 50 and just ride it up unless it breaks down. So if you get down here, if you're able to get a position down here at the 68, 69 giggity mark, you could get a nice entry to ride the wave. Other than that, if you get a close below that daily 50, you know, what do you lose? Just a few bucks as opposed to getting in that right here at 72. Just wait for it to pull back is all I'm trying to say there on Kroger. Am I part of the Wall Street short? No, I'm not part of the bets. Chart request, NutX. Yeah, let's take it because it's called NutX. NutX Health. Bull, neutral, neutral, neutral. Okay, so this is one of those things. 30-minute squeeze, hourly squeeze. 4 hours in, dipping. You had a little bit of a dip here on the daily after hitting a 152.50 high. Daily is settling in, trying to hold on to the daily 21. If I'm going to play this on the bullish side, what I want to see is you to continue to hold above 100 first of all, and that would give you a hold of the hourly 200 really. But I do have some concerns here since we have broken down on the momentum just a little bit. Now we are in a neutral positioning. If this breaks down below 100, this is going to shift from neutral probably to neutral minus, maybe even to bearish territory at that point, and then you're probably going to see a bigger dip here. You do have a nice level here on the daily chart, which we can draw right here, about that 69.50 mark. And let's see, we can also draw some fibs to see where things can possibly. 83 is going to be your 618, 96. So you do have your golden pocket there between 96 and 83. So looking at it, it's not the cleanest chart from the bullish standpoint because everything has turned so neutral and we have these squeezes. So whichever way these squeezes are going to fire ultimately is going to be the direction that we need to play. So what I would be looking for is if this switches, or excuse me, if this breaks below like that 105, 100, that squeeze is going to fire short. That's going to trigger the hourly, and then you're going to get a move. Your first target is going to be that hourly 200 there. We're at about the 100 mark. And then you can play it to those fib levels that I just drew up, and you could lose the daily 50. However, if this breaks back to the upside and you get a nice push and you hold above 130, this is going to change to a more bullish positioning, and then you can start talking about hitting the 152s yet again. So it's just a matter of, can this squeeze fire to the upside if you are bullish on it and recapture the 152 mark, or is it just going to roll over and, you know, revisit some of these levels after making a huge move to the upside without, you know, gathering too much support? So there's a few questions there. Therefore, maybe sell calls, maybe, depending, you know, what your strategy is. You're welcome, Keith. I like your dog. Beautiful. Yeah, you know, if you want to sell calls, when you're if you think this is going to go down, yeah, and it's got a good options chain. Let me see. NutX. NutX has no options chain, according to TOS. Maybe you could short the stock. I don't know. But NutX does not have an options chain. Sadly, that would be a shares play. All right. Let's see. Let's go on down. Let's see. We left off at like Costco and Kroger. K-View. Another one within the XLP. Needs above 2440. You got the good, strong bullish readings. Bull plus, max bull plus, max bull. You get the picture. Mid compression on the 30. Low compression on the hourly. 4 hourly is triggering to the upside. You also, that could ultimately trigger. So hourly, this triggers, that triggers, that triggers. Nested squeeze upon nested squeeze upon nested squeeze. That's what we're seeing here on K-View. This is good for shares. They also have a good options chain. I looked at it earlier. It needs to break above 2440 or 2450. And then we're talking about a move up to about 25.5. This is a slow mover. It doesn't move a whole lot, but the setup is there. Could be a nice little move if the XLP consumer names start to get going. Let's see. Yeah, K-View is on the list. Monster, I want to keep an eye on Monster. They do have earnings tomorrow, I do believe. So we'll see. Take Two, yeah, Take Two. This one's an interesting one. I'm still going to keep this one on my radar. Crazy move to the upside. And then Friday, they announced that Grand Theft Auto 6 isn't going to be released until a little while longer. And it, plummeted off of that news. But look where it closed, though. You held the daily 50. And you closed right back above the prior breakout. So if we can continue to hold this, I think it could still be a long. So it's still on my watch list. I don't have it like super duper marked, but it is on my list of names for this week to see if it can hold. If it does, great, we'll take a long on it. But as you can see, it closed right there. I mean, you can see it a little bit better on that 4-hour chart, even the hourly. Holding that 218.75. If it can continue to hold, it's good. But as you can see, there was a little bit of damage done here on the 30-minute chart as well as the hourly. Bearish now on the 30-minute. Probably just need to see if momentum can shift gears here. And if it can, then we can get back into a bullish positioning on it. But as it sits, we just need to let that news digest with Take Two. But overall, I like the daily chart if it can hold above the prior breakout of like 218.75, 219. But I still like it. And then, EA kind of reminds me of EA. Let's see if it can hold 147. If it does, great. If it don't, we'll take a look at other names. Dollar Tree. We'll see if these names can start catching a bid. You got a 4-hour squeeze on the board with Dollar Tree. You got bulls readings on the smaller time frames. You finally broke above the daily 200. Got a nice little pullback to the daily 50, to the daily 21, and it looks like you're trying to break out yet again. If we can capture some more upside on that 4-hour squeeze, we're looking at a move towards about 90, and then there's a gap to fill to about 95 on that. So let me draw those levels out so I don't have them. There you go. There's 85. Gap resistance 89, and then gap fill is going to be around 94.50 on Dollar Tree. We have names such as GE, who's had a nice bounce back, just needs to move above 214, slightly extended on the 4-hour, but again, you got the 30-minute and the 1-hour time frames. The short-term momentum is there. It's just a matter of can that short-term momentum continue, especially since the market is kind of, especially the NASDAQ is right there at the daily 200. And we've also seen Bitcoin take a little bit of a hit. So if Bitcoin's going to lead the way, we'll see if the dip on Bitcoin also leads the way, if it leads the dip. Rivian, yeah. Rivian needs above 14. Bullish readings on the hourly and the 4 hour. It's just a matter of this 30-minute. If this 30-minute squeeze fires to the upside and this momentum starts to kick back in and we get a push above 14, I think you're in a good spot here to continue to ride the wave. You also got a little bit of a bull flag forming here on the 4 hour. If you break above 14, you know, you're looking at 14 and a half and then ultimately 15 and a half. If, however, you start to close below the 30-minute 50, which sits at about 13 and a half, then you could see some further downside and possibly retest like 13 and a quarter to 13, maybe even retest the hourly 50 there. So watch where that 30-minute squeeze goes, and you'll have your answer. But you do have some good levels to work with on Rivian. So 14, 14 and a half, 15 and a half, break below 13 and a half, 13, which is nice. It's nice when you look at a chart and it has like clean levels like that. Let's see. Palantir has earnings tomorrow, so not going to do too much on that. I think we pretty much covered. I think I've gone through all my lists. Yep. Philip Morris, Walmart, which I still have a small position in Walmart, Live Nation, EA, Spotify, Berkshire, Fast, Tesla, Costco, K-View, Dollar Tree. Boeing is an interesting one. It's on my list. I have a love-hate relationship with Boeing, which is why I hardly ever bring it up. You trade Walmart now? Maybe. I've been expanding outward. I think it's been beneficial for me to expand outward. Yeah. I do try to focus on like the Mag 7. But yeah, other names have been very good to me lately, so that's not to mention, you know, we've been doing really well on the Mag 7 names regardless. And I'll always have a love spot for the Mag 7 anyway, you know, like Microsoft. Microsoft just had their earnings. We could respect the 3-day rule, see where it comes out. But look at these readings: Max bull, 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 bull. Microsoft's in a good spot as far as the Mag 7 goes. You know, Apple, we swung Apple. It took a week and a half for this one to work out, and then took the profit before the Microsoft earnings, and you got crushed there. So we got out at the perfect time too. Apple, it was looking like a leadership name within the Mag 7 outside of Netflix, and then it just got crushed. Now that seems to be taken over by Microsoft next to Netflix, and then you got Nvidia, which is an interesting name to watch next week as well. Just needs to clear 114.50. These smaller time frames are starting to agree with each other as far as the momentum goes and the structure goes. It's just the cues are right there at resistance. Semiconductors in general look somewhat trader. If we can get above this 114.50, you could see a nice little move. And it's, hey, if we get the China news, who knows? And semiconductors are rocking and rolling. Nvidia could be a nice play. If semiconductors don't get a deal, or you know, if we get bad China news, Qualcomm could be a nice short. Or AMD. You know, AMD has earnings coming up. I hate betting against Lisa Su. But this chart still looks negative. I mean, the 30 minutes, yeah, it's shifted here, but when you look at the daily chart, it still looks pretty ugly. You know, I'm not playing AMD. I don't have any skin in the game on AMD. If I had any skin in the game, I mean, Broadcom was a nice win. We played Broadcom last week. It pretty much leads the semiconductors. So that could be another one that we keep our eye on, Broadcom. See if we can get round 2. Take this from 200 and see if we can't take out these guys. 218, maybe take a 220 swing. Longer dated calls. We don't have any squeeze on the board. Maybe we can just look out for one. Get some consolidation on the 30. But as it sits, I mean, 30 minutes still holding above the hourly 21. So that's pretty bullish to me. Max bull, bull, bull. Yeah. So if you can hold this, I think you have a good shot here. Or is NVIDIA going to run hardest because everybody loves NVIDIA? Broadcom doesn't get as much love as NVIDIA, but NVIDIA can run hard. Broadcom can also run hard with it. And right now, I like the Broadcom chart better than I do NVIDIA. And that's part of the XLK. All these are part of the XLK. And it just comes down to, can the XLK get over this 218 mark and then 223? It's like we're right at some overhead resistance. I don't want to short it. All my longs, I'm holding small positions at this point. And we'll see what happens, especially with FOMC. Let's see. Did I have any other names? Palantir, Uber MSTR. Yeah, we'll look at him. Uber and MSTR. Uber's breaking out of a multi-year level here at 81.90. Your next spot is 87, where you kind of had that little island top where it reversed, came back up to it, rejected. So this is kind of a fun spot to break out of. Yeah, just keep riding the wave. Max bull, max bull, max bull, max bull. You got all the key components here for a pretty solid trade. Just buy the pullback. Depends on how aggressive you want to be. Do you want to be a dip buyer at the 30-minute 21 or the hourly 21? Whatever suits your fancy. But Uber looks pretty great. Who's the other one? GEV, Roblox. GEV. I thought I had GEV on here. Oh, that's because it's on my spreadsheet. I got to put all these others into my spreadsheet. GEV, GE, Verona, Bull Plus, Bull, Max Bull, Max Bull. You get the idea. Great readings. You got a gap to fill here towards 420. Smoke weed every day. And then we have Roblox. Yeah. Again, this thing has made a huge move. Just got to wait for some sort of consolidation. New squeeze. You're back at all-time highs here on Roblox. Fantastic move. I wish I had gotten in here. Like right here. What is that? Yeah, right here at about the 67 mark. I wish I'd gotten in. Nice chart. All right. Cool. Tickers. Y'all got any ticker requests anymore? Wouldn't it be nice if we could wake up? So, to recap, real quick. SPY Daily, Dow Daily, IWM Daily, they're all in these low compression squeezes. Bullish readings on all the small time frames. If we start to get into a neutral spot, we'll start to see some of that consolidation, and we just need to be treading a little bit more carefully because that means the momentum is slowing and or changing directions. Just want to be careful. All the sectors, again, if we start to see these sectors start to shift from max bull to a neutral spot, could be a caution flag. We don't want to see the VIX hourly shift out of its bearish reading. We do want to see these bonds, the HYG, the junk bonds, and the LQD catch a bid at least. Gold has been coming down. Same with silver. IYT, Little interesting spot there. Newmont, Dell, Labu. Yeah, there we go. Labu, Direction Biotechs. Okay, so you're looking at biotech. So couldn't we just look at IBB? Oh, XBI. Yeah. Yeah, you can look at IBB, XBI, however, whichever one you want to prefer. Biotechs, these things have started to catch a little bit better structure here. As you can see, we ridden the wave up to this 84 mark is what I had. You had a gap fill here to 84. It's just kind of bonking its head on resistance. What is it going to do next is the next question. You are in an hourly squeeze. Ultimately, we want to continue to see that momentum press this on ahead. And if you get that push above 84, my next spot is going to be around the 90 mark on the XBI, and you can kind of confirm that with the IBB. Smaller time frame, bullish. You're kind of riding the 30-minute 2150 and the hourly 2150. And as long as you hold that up and you don't lose it, you're in a good spot. Get above 127, you got a gap fill to like 131. Just keep in mind, you got a lot of overhead coming up through here. That's a fun drawing. Labu. I didn't know there was a 3x. Of course there's a 3. There's a 3x for everything. Yeah. Whatever. So if you want to use the Labu, I would probably just use the XBI or the IBB. IBB is pretty popular. Dell. Max Bull on the 30. Ooh, we need to get above, what's that, 96? Yeah, get above 96. No squeezes. Max Bull on the 30. Bullish on the hourly. You got the neutral just because you're mainly below the 200. You did get the crossover on the oscillator. Thrust momentum's good there on the 4 hourly, so that gets like a check minus out in my book. This is okay on the smaller time frames. Yeah, if you can get above 96, your next mark is going to be 101.50. There's 101.50. Then you have gap resistance at 104. Gap fill at 107. 107.80. Then the daily 200 is kind of catching up here, slowly but surely. If we happen to break back down below 89, then that could, shift this, and then you might have some trouble here. Yeah, if you start to break down 89 to 87.50, that could spill some trouble there on Dell. But I think you have a nice little setup above 96 with a smaller time frame bullish readings that could shift it over here. So I like it. I might throw that one on my list. Actually, I'm going to throw it on my list because I like it. Dell. And then I'm going to write over 96 to 102. Thank you. Yeah, good ticker there. I like it. Newmont. Yeah, this one's a no touchy for me, just because the readings are a little bit conflicted here. You're bearish on the smaller time frames, so if you want, you could short it, especially with gold going down lately. As long as you don't have at least an hourly close above 53, that would mean you have an hourly close above the hourly 50, and that could, tell us that Newmont is switching gears here on the short-term momentum. So that would be my first watch. So above, 53, you can be bullish. But if you want to play the short, you can ride this wave down on the key moving averages. You do have a 30-minute squeeze, so that is a bonus. If we can break down below 52, that could send you further down. Yeah, you look at that hourly 200 right there too. Send you on down, and you don't have much support until about 44. A little bit of a double top situation here. Could get pretty ugly if Newmont doesn't hold its ground. Watch where that 30-minute squeeze plays out. Or if it breaks above 53. That could be pretty fun. That could be pretty fun. Let's check out gold. Yeah, especially if gold's not going to wake back up. Gold's had a lot of fun. Let's check out gold futures. Yeah, gold's trying to hold the daily 21. Neutral, as it says, you know, this can change overnight. Neutral, neutral, neutral. Trying to hold the 21. Now, if this pops up, you know, maybe, you know, people are trying to be a little bit safe heading into FOMC and Powell. You got an hourly low-level compression. Wouldn't that be nice if we could wake up? Yeah, could be interesting. See if gold holds that 21. But if you start to lose this 32.45 on gold, yeah, it's just going to keep on dwindling. It's just in a very neutral spot there on gold futures. But if I'm looking at Newmont, I like it below 50, 51. Orla. I haven't heard of that one. Orla. I dated a girl named Orla. Neutral, neutral, neutral. Bull plus. Yeah, kind of looks like gold. Just holding on to the daily 21. 4-hour squeeze, 30-minute squeeze. Orla. Orla does have an options chain, but it's not very liquid, so I'd be a little bit cautious on that. Newmont, though, is going to be better as far as the option chains goes. Yeah, Newmont's the better one based off the options. You got lots of people playing in Newmont. Yeah, this Orla looks just like gold. Just like it. Could be a fun proxy, though. Apple is an ice cube, yes. Right. Y'all ready? Powell on Wednesday, 2 o'clock. Fed speakers galore on Friday. Everybody wants to talk. Literally everybody wants to talk. Let's see. We've gone straight up for 9 days in a row. You're right there at some interesting resistance levels. You can see it better on the Qs and the NASDAQ right there at the daily 200. Daily squeezes in play. Can the short-term momentum continue? Can transports and the IYT catch a bid? Rally the Dow? HYG? Can the junk continue to catch a bid, or is it starting to cool off? Netflix, is it going to sell off a little bit? There's questions. We just need to be a little bit vigilant at this point. But the short-term momentums, like I said, they're pretty positive. We'll see if it can hold the pullbacks. Can the bulls hold their ground, or are the bears going to sink their teeth in and down we go again? It's been a fun few days, I'll tell you that much. Riding the upside's been fun. Riding the downside's just as fun as well, too. We can play both sides of the spectrum once things start to shift gears. All right, cool. If y'all don't have any other requests, we'll call it here. Thank you, high five. Hey, I appreciate y'all. There's a lot of places you could be at 9:50 at the evening on a Sunday, and you're hanging out with me, so I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. I do have this recorded. I'll get it uploaded in just a moment and post it in case you need to go back and look. Again, if you need my spreadsheet, there you go. There's all the readings for you. Awesome. I appreciate y'all. Powell on deck. Palantir earnings tomorrow morning. AMD earnings on Tuesday. Watching communication sector, consumer staples, consumer discretionary, and some of the tech names and financial names. We got a plethora of names that we can definitely keep an eye on. So that's a good thing. All right, guys. Have a good evening. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Take care.